can see my slide, right? We talked about string data types. Does anybody wants to tell me like what we talk about string data type?
So strings are basically just like regular words that can be used as variables.
Use
Or
as
sorry, variables that hold regular words. Other way around, sorry.
like I actually wanted you to like tell me about string. What do you understand with string? When do you use string? What's like basically what characterizes a string? What's the difference between a string data type and the numeric data type? So
Yeah. So a string data type basically is built of ASCII characters, whereas a numeric data type such as ints or floats has either decimal points for ints or just regular integers for the ints.
okay. And as part of the characteristics of a string, let me just do like a recap. I said the way you identify strings in Python is it's always in quotes, either single quote or double quotes, just like you have in this example here. So that's how Python gets to know that this data you are giving me is of the string data type, and Python will treat it accordingly. So then I think if you remember, we also did some examples on I said you can do this you have the asterisk operator or the multiplication operator, you can do it with strings. But I said something in particular, and I think I demonstrated it also about the way you can do this, about how the multiplication operator, how it works in string. So can someone tell me how it works? Can you do multiplication operator on two string values? I think let me ask that. Can you do the multiplication operator on two string values?
I would say no.
Any contrary opinion?
I think you can if you like it'll like make multiple of that string.
I'm talking about the multiplication operator now. The first response was right. You cannot do it. Remember, I said it that day that you can only do the multiplication operator with a string value and a
And the
numeric value
number,
and an integer actually.
integer, yeah.
Yeah, an integer, a string value and an integer. And the way it works is when you do that, let me try and do some demonstration. All right, so I'm inside my Visual Studio Code now. Let me open my working directory so that I can just do some little, so I can do some little demonstrations. Okay. Where's the okay? I think I had my this thing in Python, this thing for summer Python class 2. Let's work with that folder. Oh yeah. So and for this demonstration, I won't be writing it in a Python file. So let me just go into Python shell mode. So and now I'll just be entering my prompt. Entering my code as a prompt. So I said you can only do the multiplication operator on on a string value and uh an integer. But for someone that said it's possible, let's see what's going to happen now. If I say let me say Python is fun. Multiply by, remember we use asterisk for multiplication in Python. Another, let's say yes. If I do this, there's going to be an error. So it's not possible. The only way the multiplication operator works on a string is when you have a string being multiplied by a string value being multiplied by an integer. An integer like a whole number. You can have 45, 12. So what's going to happen is this Python is fun, exclamation mark, is going to be repeated 12 times as a single string. Now, in this case, as a single string, not like you're having 12 different Python is fun. You have everything repeated and as a single string. So you see, everything is being repeated as a single string value. Python is fun, exclamation, Python is fun, exclamation 12 times. So that is how it works. Asterisk works with a Python string, a string value and an integer. And with, the addition operator, which we call, for the additional operator, I said that one can work for more than, two or more. You can add two or more string values together. It doesn't work with a string value and maybe an integer or anything. If you're going to be doing the addition operator, it has to be with strings. It has to be strings. Like we can have multiple. Same thing we did here. Same this thing that we carried out here. That when we multiply Python is formed by 12. If you want to do it again using if you want to get the same output, but using the plus operator now, we'll be saying Python is fun. We have to, will actually be Python is fun. That means we have to write it 12 times and add it up together in like 12 different times. Then I'll do another plus. Python is fun, exclamation, like that. You still do some plus and so on like that. So if you have to like repeat anything like a particular string value, if you have to like repeat it or something, you can choose two different ways. But I believe you would want to go with this approach if you have to like, if you like to do it. If you have to do it, if you have to do something like that, if your the problem you're trying to solve involve that you repeat a string value multiple times, I think the very easier code that you can write is to use the multiplication operator instead of having to write it 12 times there. So if I run this now, you see we still have Python is fun, exclamation, Python is fun. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake here, but then you get the scope, right? So addition operator, which is called the concatenator in a way. So when we are adding multiple strings together, what we call it in programming is concatenation. Concatenation, we are concatenating many string values as one. We are concatenating them. We are adding all of them to make a single string. So then we went on to talk about, am I sharing on my screen?
You are. I can see the Gideon.
Okay, can you see my slide?
No, not the slide, but we can
Okay.
see
Okay.
Visios.
All right.
I can
Then
see
I think
the video code.
yeah. So I also talked about in the last class, I think where we stopped was I said there's also something we call methods.
Yeah. Professor, are you recording?
Yes, I think I clicked recording the other time. Let me check and confirm. Yeah, I'm recording.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So we also talked about, I think where we stopped in the last class was methods, which I said ours are similar. It's very close to, sometimes they use it interchangeably with functions. If you remember functions, I think you have the slide, so you can open to the slide to that page and maybe see, have a recall of what function is. But like function is like a reusable piece of code that does a specific task. And the way you identify function is that there's always a keyword and open and close bracket. So most of the time it is inside that bracket that you put your, just like, the print is a function. Print is a function. And the way you know it's a function is, it's always after you've written the keyword, that word, the function name, it's always followed by open and close bracket. And inside it, you pass for print. The way print works is inside that parenthesis. And for most of the functions, inside the parenthesis or the brackets is where you put the message you want to pass into the function. What you want the function to work on, to give you the purpose, or to perform its purpose. So, like for instance, now I want to print out my name. So I'm passing the message Gideon into the print function. I want print to work on it. So, and at the end, because the work of print is to output anything I give to it, that is the task it is meant to perform. So if I run this now, that's why you see that I have, it outputs what I gave to it. That's the function of the print statement. or the print function rather. So we have so many other functions, but now we are talking about methods, and we said it's a repeatable piece of code that has a specific purpose also. It also has a purpose, just like function. It's also like a reusable piece of code, or yeah, a reusable piece of code, you can call it that has its own purpose, just like function. But the difference between a function and a method is that a method is attached to a particular data type. I can print an integer, print 4. You see, I don't have it in quotes, so that means it is an integer. 4 got printed. I can also print 23.2, which is a float data type. It got printed. I can also print 081. I am good. What data type is this? What data type is, well, I mean, what I have in my print statement now, what data type is it? Kabui, can you help with that? I just want to be sure we are getting it.
Is that a function?
This is a string.
Okay, I think Kabui asks if that's a function. The question I asked is, what data type do I have inside my print function now?
Is it?
Okay.
I would say
So-
a string because it's between quotation.
We have an integer. We have a number, integer.
I'm talking
Okay.
about this. Is it a string or an integer?
It's a, hold on, I can't see. Where?
You can see this, what I have highlighted.
Okay. You have it has printed out. It is a integer.
I would say it's a string.
Okay, Mr. Fabri said it's a string. Cowboy, what's your answer? Is it a string or an integer?
I mean, what I remember about the example of a string that you gave us, you said it's in quotation and it has brackets and it also has quotation and it can have letters and numbers on it. So I would think it would be a string. That's my thought.
Anybody else? So not to waste our time, it is a string. And the explanation Cowboy made is, it's very correct. So far you have it in a quote. It is not the brackets that actually denote that it's a function. It's a string. It is the quotes. Because you have it in a quote, you can have 12 points. You can have, I am 081, I am 12.7. No, is it meter long? 12.7 meter. Let's say that's my height or something. I can have it like this. It is still a string because even everything is in a quote. That makes it a string. So whether it's a number or anything, even if it's pure number, let's say I want to print out my name now, and I have all my phone number. This is all integers, right? I mean, the value, what we have here, these are numbers, but then I'm telling Python to treat it as a string. Why? Because I have it in quotes. So now I cannot do any numerical operation on this now because Python will see it as a string. And like I said, there's no limit to the characters you can include as a string. Even the heart operator, you can also use it as, it will become any character. So far, you're not looking to do some multiplication operation, or you're not looking to do some mathematical operations on it. You can give Python as a string. So basically, because we have code, we have it in quotes, so it is a string. And so what I was trying to explain was that with function works with all data types basically. Like as there's no restriction to the data type that a function can work with. But methods, those ones are always attached to a specific data type. So if there's a method that works with integer, it's not going to work with a string. And if there's a method that works with a string, there's a high probability or like 90% chance that it's not going to work on another data type. And most of the time, the way you call them, and we have a lot of them. We have a lot of Python a lot of string methods that only work with strings. We have some that only works with integers, but we'll dwell more on the one that works with string because that's what you'll be dealing with mostly. So one of them that I think I demonstrated the last time was the lower method. Lower method. And remember I said a method is just like a function. They have the same characteristics as a function, but the only difference is that it is always attached to a specific data type. So this is I have Gideon here as which is a string, of course. And I said there's a method called lower, which is a string method because it is attached to it. You only use it on strings. And we have a string here. So the way you call the methods most of the time is you use the dots notation. That is on the left-hand side, you have your string value, and after that last quote, you put a dot, then you call the method. So I said there's a lower method, right? So then we call lower, and it's just like function. So that means it must have an open and close bracket. So so that we can see the effects, let me write Gideon in capital letter. Yeah. So what lower does is it makes your string value, it changes it into it converts it to a lowercase. If you have anything in uppercase, anything in that string value that is in uppercase, it's going to convert it to lower. It's going to convert everything to lowercase. And if I press enter now, you see the output is Gideon in lowercase. Now, the whole operation, like you know what this does now, right? This Gideon dot lower. It's going to give Gideon Gideon in lowercase. So now I want to give everything to the print function. I want to put everything inside print function. Just to tell you what's possible. What do you think the output will be now? Anybody? What do you think the output will be if I should run this?
It'll all just be lowercase.
Yeah, it will be lowercase. So what will be the difference between this, the output of this, and the output of me not putting it in a print statement? What's going to be the difference between these outputs here and the output that this is going to give? I said it in the last class. Okay.
The
So if I
output
should,
will be the same.
what did you say?
The output will be the same.
Okay, the output will be the same. The output will be the same, but there's one thing will be excluded. In the here now, you can see the quotes.
The
Like the response
function,
is also coming. The quote is coming also with it.
yeah.
But if I should do this, you have just the output. So I think one thing I explained in the last class was that this is only possible in prompt. Like writing something like this is only, we are not enforcing enforcing a print here. We are not enforcing a print.
Syntax.
Yeah, we are not enforcing a print. If I should put this to actually see what's going to work, let me comment this. If I should just write this, let's say this is the only thing we have. If I should put it in a script and I save it, if I should run it, nothing is going to happen. Let me exit my prompt. Let me exit my prompt and run it. You see?
Yeah.
It says main.py, it has run, but nothing is showing. So this kind of, we only write something like this when it's when we are testing, like when we are inside the prompt. Ideally, because what I want is for it, you have to really, if you are writing it in a script, you have to enforce the print because I want it to output it, right? So I have to put that in a print function. That output, that what I want, that thing to give out to me. If I'm writing it in a script, I have to put it inside a print statement. So if I want, the work of a print statement is to output whatever you give to it. So if I'm writing it in a script, then I have to enforce this print statement. Just writing Gideon.lower is not going to give anything. It's a command in Python, but that command is not telling Python to print it out. It's just saying convert Gideon to lower. You need to tell, if you want it to output it to you, you also need to tell it to output that thing to you. So that is why you see that I'm putting Gideon.lower, which is my task, the operation that I want now. I am putting it inside print. So I'm saying print out, you know what print does is you print out whatever you give to it is going to print it out. And what I'm giving it this time is Gideon.lower. That it will first of all execute what you have inside there, which is Gideon.lower, which is Gideon in lowercase, right? Then what should the print function do? Print it out. And if I have this now and I save again and I run it, you see now we have Gideon in lowercase.
So is that more like a principle every time we are in the print, not in the terminal, we have to include the print?
You have to include the print. If you want to output anything, you have to include the
You have
print.
to include the print. Okay.
Any question? Please, I like the fact that we are actually we are interacting. So yeah. So that is one method. Remember what got us here is methods. And now let me stop working with prompts so that you see now. We also have there's also another one called capitalize. Okay, let me quickly just do this. If I do this, if I write Gideon and I still use the lower, what's going to happen? What's going to happen?
I think it will stay the same.
Exactly. It will stay the same. Nothing is going to happen
Yeah,
because
because
we
it's
have
always
it.
in lowercase.
Yeah, it's still going to be in lowercase. And I mean,
Yeah.
so we can say it is useless. Using lower in this case is useless. But sometimes if you need to ensure the output of your, let's say you don't know what you are asking, you ask users to enter something and you don't know what case they are going to enter it, but the code is expecting that it must be in lowercase. You can still apply it so that you know that whatever they enter, I mean, it must be converted to lowercase before you go on to process it. Does that make sense? Let me hear your response, please.
Yes.
So there's another method, another string method. Another method that work with string is capitalize. And of course, you already know what that should do. It's going to capitalize everything. It's going to capitalize your string value. Oh, sorry. It's going to capitalize the first word, the first character rather. I think, yeah, that's what it does. It's going to capitalize the first word. Let me do this so that I can be sure. Okay, yeah, you see. It capitalizes the first character in your string value. So this is good for, let's say you have a sentence, and for every sentence in English, the first word must be in uppercase, right? So if you want to have that sentence, if you want to capitalize the very first character in the sense that the very first letter, then you can do capitalize and you see what the output is. Gideon is good. So the G has been converted to uppercase. Then we have another one like the opposite of lower, which is upper. With that upper, everything turns to uppercase. You see, Gideon is good. Then we have another one. We have tie2. We have another function called tie2. Yeah, maybe I should, so that you know. The first one we worked with was lower, right? The other was capitalize. Capitalize. Yeah, so there's another one called upper. Upper makes everything into uppercase, and we are also tie2. So the way you know all these things, like I said, is you have to practice them, make some research and practice with them. But then you can still, practice with these ones that I'm showing you. But as part of your assignment, you go to Google, just search for Python strings. Oh, sorry, string methods in Python. Please take note of this. String methods in Python. So I think W3 School or something like that. The very first suggestion, just try and click on them and or maybe on Google Classroom, I will share you the link to where you can find all these string methods. Just practice with a lot of them. I think, let me note that. So I'll upload the link to Google Classroom.
Okay.
Yes, that would be nice, Professor. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I said another one is title. So let's see how title works. Let me comment others. So the way title works is it's going to capitalize the first character of every word. How many words do I have in this string, in this single string value? How many words do we have there?
3.
3.
3, right? Awesome. We have 3. Gideon is a word. Is a word.
Yeah.
Good is a word. But everything all together. So this particular, what we say is this one string value, because you see everything is enclosed. There's an opening quote here and an ending here. So it's just one quote, one string value. It's one string value, but it contains 3 words, 3 English words. So what the title method does is it's going to convert the first character of each word to uppercase. And let me save and run it. You see, Gideon, the G is converted to uppercase. I also converted to uppercase. G in good also converted to uppercase. So that's the work of the title. Then we have other ones. We have so there's another one. If you want to check if there's another one called ends with. Ends with is a string method. So what this one does is it checks if your string value ends with a particular with a character, with a string or a character or anything. So now what I want to check is if and the response is always what we call Boolean. That's another data type in Python. Boolean data type. And we call them Boolean because it's either what you have there is just like in numbers, you can have 1 point, 1 point something, 2 point something, right? So but Boolean, what we call them is it's either true or false. True like this, or false. So true and false, like just like you have them, the first letter should be capital letter, and for true and also for false. So they are like special words in Python. They are keywords. And you don't just use them anyhow. They have special meaning in Python. So you don't use them anyhow like that. So the response of this particular method is either true or false. And the way you use it is just like function. Your method can also take inputs. So how do you know which method takes input and which one doesn't take input? It is by practice. Upper doesn't take any input. Lower doesn't take any input. Or even if it takes any inputs, I've never had to use it. So most of the time it won't take any input. And I don't think it takes any input. Let me check if it takes any input. You can see from it doesn't take any, lower doesn't take any inputs. Capitalize also doesn't take any inputs. Upper doesn't take any input. But ends with takes an input. And that input, if I hover my mouse on it now, you see this documentation. So it's saying it takes a suffix, start, and end. But we won't be dealing with this start and end, or you can read more and see how it works. But basically, when you are using ends with as for the prefix, the suffix rather, the first this thing you are passing there should be what you want it to check. So I want to check if my string value ends with good. Is it going to be true or false? I want to check if this string Gideon is good, if it ends with good. Is it true or false? Does it end with good or not?
Yes, it does. It's gonna be true.
Any contrary opinion?
I think it's true.
Yeah, you're right. It's true. So the answer is going to be true. Let me run it. Yes. You see, true.
What about if you put something? Oh, okay. If you say Gideon, what about if you put bad? that would be false, right?
If I put what?
False instead of, if you say Gideon is, let's say Gideon is good, right? Then you put bad in that quotation. So the
Yeah,
answer would be definitely false, right? Yeah,
definitely
or
it's going
head
to
or
be
something.
false.
Yeah, yeah.
So if I run
Okay,
this now, it's going to be false because Gideon is good, does not end with head.
okay,
And it is not necessarily, it shouldn't necessarily be a word. It could be just AD. If you want to check if, let me do
okay.
this. OD,
Oh, D, yeah.
is it going to be true or false?
It's gonna be false
Why?
because Gideon ends with good, right? Gideon is good.
So that's where you're getting it wrong. And I'm glad you even did.
Thank
So
you.
it's not necessarily, ends with does not check
Uh-huh.
for word, does not check if it's, I mean, doesn't check for a word. It
Okay.
checks for character. So
Uh,
character as in a single letters like this, like single entity like that. So
yeah.
when I said OD, I mean this is
Uh-huh.
right. If you look at Gideon is good, what ends it is OD.
Okay.
So it's going to be, if I run this now, it's going to be true. Why? Because Gideon is good, which is a string, ends with
Okay.
OD.
I see.
If I remove another character and I said, does Gideon is good end with D? Does it end with
That's
D?
true. It does end with D.
If I run, let me save and run,
Uh,
true.
mhm.
Gideon is good. Does he end with is good?
No. Yes.
If I run this, it's going to give me true.
That's right.
Are you getting it? So it doesn't
Yeah.
matter where you went. So far, what you are I mean, where you are starting or where you are checking follows the
Mhm.
same format as what ends it. If I even put a
Okay.
space here, if I put a space before is, and I said Gideon is good, ends with space is good. Is it going to be right?
That's true.
It's going to be true, of course,
Mm.
because we can find towards the end,
Yeah.
we can find a space is
Between, yeah.
space good. It's something that similar to this that ends
Hmm.
our string value. So that is how the end switch works.
Mm.
If I put is goof, is it going to be true or false?
That's false, right?
Any contrary opinion?
That is false.
Exactly, it's going to be false. So let me test us. True or false?
So, question, is
Okay.
there a difference between this if and else and the true and false? If and else
So
statements
if
and
an else
true and
statement,
false. Mhm. Is
yeah,
there a difference?
we'll get there. If an else statement is how you do conditional this thing, how you do a conditional statement, how you check if something is basically, if you want to like write so a logic that follows condition that is conditional. So use if and else. And of course, if and else internally resolves into true or false. When we get there, you understand what I mean by. So when you do if something is something, what you are checking for is if the statement or the condition you've put there is true or false. So the if statement works on still uses the Boolean operator behind the scene. Does that make sense? Oh, Alexandra, are you there?
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, I said, did that answer your question?
Oh, yes, yes, it did.
Okay, all right. So ends with is a method, is a code that has been written somewhere. When you install Python, it comes with Python. So, but what it does is it checks whatever if you can also write an if statement to do this, but that will be a longer line of code. So when the code has already been written for you and you just need to call it and has been made into a method, a string method for you, why not just use it? So this same thing, there's another way I can even write this method myself. But then since we already have something that does that, so we don't need to, there's no need for what's the word now? Uh, something the wheel, or how do they call it? Reinventing the wheel. Yeah. So just know that there's a string method that does called end suite that checks for whether your string value ends with certain strings of character or streams of characters. So I think the question I asked was, is this going to be true or false?
I think it's false
Anybody else? Is it going to
because
be true or false? Okay, since you said it's false. What's your
Yes,
reason?
it's false.
Okay,
because
what's the reason?
there's
Because
capital
the
letter.
G is in capital.
Exactly.
And the Gideon is good is not capital. The good in Gideon is not capital.
Yeah, the G here is not capital. So it's going to
Yeah.
be false.
Think yeah, Python
Python is
case
case
sensitive.
sensitive. Like Gideon, yeah, this good in lowercase is different from G in uppercase. Everything must be the same. If you want them, I mean, if you want the condition to be true, it has to be exactly as it is.
Mm,
You got that right?
that's right.
Yeah. Then there's another, I mean, of course, if there's ends with, there should be starts with, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So there's also starts with. And Gideon is good. Does it start with good?
No,
No. So it's going to be false.
This one will be false.
True or false?
True.
false.
Oh, false. Yes, capital G. Yes, false.
False. True or false?
False.
False.
Correct. I mean, still having this G as uppercase still nullifies what's it called? Why the result should have been true. So if I change this to G now, lowercase g,
True.
true. So you get that right?
Mm.
Yep.
So I'm going to, as assignment, I'm going to give us I will share the link on Google Classroom. Then you practice as much. You see there are a lot of them, a whole lot. I mean, a lot of them like that. So you practice with them. Create a file. Print out something. Write a statement, and just make sure you apply the functions. See how they apply them and use them. Then in the next class, maybe you show me. Or even when you're done, you can upload it to. I'll create an assignment. This thing on Google Classroom, so I think you receive notification when I do that. So I'll put the link also there. You go through that link, then you create a file. You practice with those links, and you upload later on before our next class.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Let me also do this. There's also something. There's another one called replace. Replace, yeah. So what replace does is it replaces like the first occurrence of a string of value that you give to it, or not even the first occurrence. I think all occurrences. Let me see. So basically what we want to do is we want to replace from this Gideon is good, we want to replace something. Let's say we write Gideon was good. And I said, why is it Gideon was good? I'm still good, right? So now I need to replace this was with is. Then you have to say, what are you replacing? Was. You pass that as the first. So replace takes as many, old. It takes 3 arguments or 3 parameters. You can, that is, you can pass 3 messages to it. And the first one is old. That is what you want to replace. Then comma. So the way you pass, if there's if a function or a method takes multiple inputs, or remember I also call input, or we call them parameter, arguments, they are all the same thing. So if a function or a method takes multiple arguments or multiple parameters, the way you separate them is by a comma. And from the documentation, they said the first thing is old. So that means they said they are expecting like the first value that you should be passing as your parameter should be the old value, which is was. Then the next one, according to the documentation, which I'm looking at here, is new. So that means after that, you need to specify what you want to replace it with. And that is is. I want to replace was with is. And the last one is can't. That one, most of the time, we don't use it, but you can see, you can demonstrate with it and see how it works. So if I should save and run this, the output is going to be Gideon is good. Was has been replaced with is. And let me now try this. Gideon is good. And okay, I think, and is wise. Let me kind of, let me praise myself more. So I'm saying that Gideon was good and was wise. Let me say was wise. So let's see if it's going to change every occurrence of was to is. I think yes. Yes. So when you use the replace method, it replaces your new with old. Every occurrence of old, word or old character, it replaces it with the new character. And it's not necessarily just a word. Let's say you want to replace every hey. How many hey do we have here? 1, 2, 3. We have 3 A's here, right? So let's say I want to replace every A with E, uppercase E. Are you getting me, please?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's say you want to replace every A with E. The replace also works. So it's not necessarily just a word or anything. This could be just a single character.
Mm.
Gideon was good and was wise. So you see that. If I put this, do you expect it to work? What data type is this?
Is
Integer.
Yeah, this is an integer. Yeah, it's an integer. So if I put this, do you think it will work?
So let me see. That was good and was wise. Replace her.
I'm saying replace
I
every
think
A with integer value 3.
Oh,
I
replace.
think it works.
Uh, it's not going to work. And the reason why it's not going to work is I don't know this before now. Before this call,
Uh-huh.
I don't know it. I don't know it's not going to
Uh-huh.
work. How do I know it's not going to work? I check the documentation. When I hover my mouse over it, the documentation of the code. So the documentation is
Uh,
basically what tells you about initially when something is when Python was written, the people that wrote it don't expect people to know it without, don't expect people they don't expect people to, just pick it up like that. The
mm,
way the knowledge was transferred was they wrote a documentation that is how standard functions that comes with Python, standard methods that comes with Python. They wrote a documentation on how they work. So those were the things
mm,
that we read and we know that, okay, this is why this is going to work and this is not going to work. And over time,
mm,
because we work with these things, so we know most of it offhand. We know what is going to work and what is not going to work.
mm,
And if anything is not going to work, or if we are not sure if something is going to work or not, you could just go to the documentation and see the mindset of the person that developed it. So now when
okay.
I check this now, what I saw is for your old value and your new value, it has to be a literal string.
Mm,
That is, it has to be a string value. And you can even see the data type here is string, str. They put str here. So
mm.
it's telling you that it must be a string value. And now if I
Okay.
run this, I don't expect, I expected like, you see there's an error.
So does it mean if you put it in quotation, it will work?
If I put it in quotation, it's going to work because now it is
Oh,
now
okay.
a string.
A string value.
It's now a
Okay.
string. So if I run this
Okay.
now,
Oh,
Gideon,
okay.
W3S, good, 3N,
Mm,
you see that, right?
yeah.
Then we have a whole lot of we even have count. If you want to count, but then I will give you that for as assignment. So you practice with that and see how they all work.
Okay.
So now as exercise, let me give you just an exercise on this call. We still have like 30 something minutes. Do we have time for exercise or should I? Hmm. Okay. So there's another thing. Let me quickly show you this. There's a function. There's another function that I should point out to you. And the name of that function is the string function. So what that one does is it converts your numeric data type to string data type. So it is called str. And inside it, you put what you want to convert. So in this case, I want to convert, let me 13.2. Let me first of all do this so that you understand what I'm doing. Yeah, let me convert this. Or so that you even see it where you see the results very well. Let me enter Python shell and paste it. You see, I wrote str, then inside the bracket, I'm passing 13.2 as what I want it to convert. Then if I do this, you see the output is 13.2 in quotes, which shows that it has been converted to what? It has been converted to what?
To a string.
Yeah, it has been converted to a string. So if I don't want to, instead of having to put it in quotes, or let's say I don't know, if I don't know what the number is going to be beforehand, like in this case, let's say it's something we don't know what the value is going to be, but we want to enforce this, because if let's say we are taking an input, we are writing a program that asks, imagine you have that takes in Word document and look for certain word in your Word document and change them to, you have enter something to what you are looking for and what you want to replace it with. That's the program we want to write. And you want the user to be able to, you don't know what the user might want to search for. So you give them room to enter their value, the value they want, and what they want to replace it. You give them the opportunity to enter it by themselves. If you write your code, you have to ensure that since you know how this replace method works, you must enforce that conversion. Say whatever the user enters, you must convert it to string. So in that case, the string function will really come in handy. Like in this case now, let's say the user enters 3. So if you find a way to apply the string method to it, the string function rather to it, it's still going to work. See, this is what I did. Initially, it used to be like this. But instead of having just 3 as an integer, now that 3 as an integer, I'm having to put it in a string function, which will first of all convert it to string and pass it on to replace. So now you see that more like in this case now, I'm actually compounding. I am writing compound code in a way. In just one line, we have a print statement. We have a print function, and inside that print function, we are applying a method to the string value, to the parameter we passed inside that print, which is the dot replace. And of course, dot replace again takes certain arguments, which is what you want to replace and what you want to replace it with. So this is the part of code this is the part of code for the replace. I'm just trying to see so that you get the structure well. So this is the part of the thing that does the replace work. And for the string, this is the part that does it. The string function still maintains the word where you could have had what is expected here is what you want to replace it with. Let's say you want to replace A with B. But remember I said I want that letter what you want to replace it with, I want to make sure it is a string value. So that is why in that position, I am putting a function there and saying the number, what should have been in this place, make sure it is in lowercase. I'm sorry, make sure it is a string value. And if I run this, I don't know if I've made justice to this explanation. There's an error. Replace S3. Yeah, I have not violated anything. Oh, I have to exit my prompt. Okay, yeah. So let me save this and run. Yeah, you see, Gideon was still good and 3ND was. So string is another function. And what I hope you get away from this is that, like let's say the print, something still holds, like the way you write your command still holds, but you can still do some, you can do nested function. You can have a function inside another function. So the way Python interpret it is it first of all solve for the like in this case, what I have here is the outer, it solves the out what's it called? The most inner function or command. It started inward, then goes outward. So first of all, Python is going to convert this three to string, which maintains the structure of replace, because inside replace, there should be what you want to replace and what you are replacing it with. Then Python will execute. Gideon was good and was nice. It will execute it dot replace. It's going to replace it with. It's going to replace what you have in perform the replace method. It's going to perform the replace method, and at the end, print out the result. Do you see the trend like that? Is anybody confused? Is it clear or is anybody confused? Please let me know. Are we all clear?
I mean, I just get the idea that after the A in quotation, instead of putting in an integer, you can put the str with the three on it, like a string, and it still works if you do that. But if you
Yeah.
just put in an integer on its own, then it won't work.
Okay. So I think the take what you can if the whole thing I've explained is not like that clear, the hierarchy of execution is not that clear. Just know that okay, we have another function called str, the str
That's right.
function that
Mhm.
converts numeric values uh to strings.
Okay,
Yeah, just know that it will really come in handy
that's right.
when we start talking about variables. And that about that, which other thing do I need to point out? Um, let me come back to my slide. Okay, yeah. So we're done with that. Now, this will actually make a lot of things easier for us. There's something we call variables in Python. There's what we call variables in Python. Let me share. Okay, you can see my slide, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's something we call variable. And variable is basically like a label, a reusable label for a data value. Before now, if we, yeah, I mean, I will explain, but before now, you see that if you want to write a string value, we just put it in quotes.
Mhm.
And in that case, I'm coming, please. Let me stop sharing, then I'll share on my screen so that you can see my slide at the same time, my Visual Studio Code. Share screen. Yeah. So I've commented everything. Or no, let me even use this same example here, the string method. We have the same. I said my name. Let me see. I want to print out my name. I want to print out my name. And I said Gideon. Let's say Gideon.lower. That's what we want. If I run this, it's going to print it out for me. Cool. But let's say I also want to or let me write it this way. Let me write it this way. Let me give this example. I'm not applying any method now. I want to write Gideon and I said Gid1. If I should print it, someone now came and said, why Gideon is wrong. Why don't you make a correction? What I would have done is to just come back here and change it to E, right? Cool. Let's say I did that. If I need to do something else with Gideon, let's say I had forgotten that Gideon is now W. I need to use Gideon again, or I need to write something and I need to say Gideon is. I don't know if this example is making sense, but let's say later along the line later on in my code, I need to use Gideon again. I need to write Gideon again, and I wrote. I always know Gideon to this Gid1. And someone has already corrected me in the first place, which I made the change, but later on I had forgotten that correction. How can you avoid such scenario in a way? So I don't know what example I would have given, but that's where the variable, what we call variable, that is where it comes in. It basically allows you to store a value. It could be a string value, an integer value, a floating value. It allows you to store it in a label so that you can, use it as many times as you want. And the thing is, when you have it in that case, whatever change you make so the way you declare a variable, let's start from there. The way you declare a variable is you have a name, the name of the variable, which there are rules to that. You don't just use any name. There are rules to that. So on the left-hand side in your code, there's a name. There's always a name, just like the example we have here. There's a name to the left of it, and there's an operator we call the assignment operator, the equal to sign that you are used to in mathematics. In Python, it is called assignment operator. A single equal sign like this is called an assignment operator. That is, it assigns whatever you have on the right-hand side of it to what you have on the left-hand side. And that is how you create a variable in Python. That is the way you store, let me call it data, the way you store value, in this case, not really data or value or anything. I can use it interchangeably. So the way you store a value you store a value in Python. So now let's say this Gideon now, I call it my underscore name. So we'll talk about the rules to creating your variable name. So this my underscore name is what we call the variable name, which is always what you will have on the left-hand side, the variable name. And after that, an equal sign. So it doesn't matter if there's a space or not, but just for readability, that's why I'm putting space. So after the variable name, there's an equal sign, which is an assignment operator, and the value you want to store into that variable name. In this case, I want to store a string value, which is called Gideon. And now, anywhere I need to use Gideon in my code, anywhere I need to use Gideon, after this line of code, where I have declined this, where I have declared Gideon to be stored in my name. If I need to use Gideon anywhere in my code again, I can always just call this my name. Now, now it won't be in quotes. So that's how it goes in Python. That's the rule. So when you are calling your variable name, which I said there are rules to it, and let me quickly touch the rules. The rules to creating your variable name is that there shouldn't be a space in your variable name. I cannot, you see why instead of a space, I put an underscore here. This is not allowed in Python. You can have my space name. It has to be a single entity. And that is why I have it as my underscore name. And it could be anything. Python leaves that to your discretion. Or is it digression or what they call it? What's the English word? So it could be anything, but it has to be descriptive. It has to you should name, now I call this my name, which I think if everybody comes to, if I send this code to anybody now, they know the value I'm storing inside it is my name. If I need to save my age into any variable, the ideal thing could be my age. If I want to label my age, let's say I'm 45 now. If I need to label it, the ideal thing would be to call it to name it my age. Or I could as well just say age. But it has to be descriptive. That's what I'm trying to say. And now my age, should it be an integer or maybe I want to do some mathematical operations on it later on. So it would be ideal for me to make it as an integer. Age equals to 30. The takeaway from here is how you create your variables, how variables are created in Python. There should be a variable name and an equal sign, then the value you want to store into that variable name. Age equals to 30, which is another variable I've created there now. And I said the rule to that is either when you are creating it, there shouldn't be a space. And a number cannot start your variable name. This is not allowed. It's not allowed. A number cannot start your variable name. And when you are creating your variable name, avoid Python keywords. Remember, I said Python keywords are words that have special meaning in Python. Avoid words like, you already know that print is a command in Python, right? So I cannot write print equals to. It may work, but then it shouldn't, that will cause confusion. Do you get that? It's going to cause confusion. So try to avoid at least the keywords the words to be commands in Python. Try to avoid them when you are naming your variables. Str is a keyword in Python, so don't use it. Print, is a keyword. You already know it's a function, so don't use it as a variable name. Or if you're going to use it, you can just say, you can add something to it. Just make sure it's not exactly the same word that Python recognizes as a special word or as a command. So it must not start with a number. It cannot start with a number or any other character. You cannot start with an hash sign. Hash sign is used for comments. You already know that. So it cannot start with an hash sign. You cannot even start with asterisk. It must start with a letter. Then let's say I'm my age 2. You can have number in it. You can have you can have number in it. You can have an underscore. We call this an underscore. We call it an underscore. You can have an underscore. But basically, it must not start with a number. And it cannot contain special characters like at or even hash. It cannot contain special characters like that. So ideally, just take it as this. When you are creating your variable, it must start with a letter and maybe contain an underscore. This is the only special character that is allowed, and a number. That's how you declare it. So let's say I'm saying my age 1 equals to 30, my underscore age 2, or let me declare this as this, my age 2, or my age 2 equals to 45. This, naming like this is allowed. But again, as best practices, make sure it is self-descriptive. Make sure it is, readable and, it is readable and descriptive in the sense that if I'm reading your code, I will understand what it means. So I think the ideal thing would be to just put an underscore here, say my age 2 and my age 1, something like that. So now, if I need to now use this age or if I need to call Gideon or anything later on, I can always call that variable. Let's say this Gideon now, I want to convert it to the G, I want to convert it to lowercase. I can just call my name in this case and apply the lower method. Let me save it and print. You see, it is printing. You see, I don't have any other thing down here. I've commented all this one. So this is the line of code that is running. That is being outputted to us. And you see, we have Gideon in lowercase now. But let me come down here again and print my name again. You see, the first one here, Gideon has been converted to lower. And when I print the same variable again, which is my underscore name, Gideon still remains the same thing here. That is here. Why? Because this dot lower that I applied there does not permanently change what you have in that variable. Till eternity, throughout the lifestyle of this program, of this code, I mean, in this particular script, all through, like from the moment I declare my name as Gideon, if I did not change it, my name will always reference this exact Gideon, regardless of what method I apply. If I want to change what we have here now, what I can do is to now again declare, let's say my underscore name, declare the variable again, and now say Gideon dot lower. No, let me do it this way. Gideon dot lower. And let me now print it. Let me now print my name. So see the trend now. Let me remove, or let me comment this. So I declared my underscore name equals to Gideon, with G being the first G being being in uppercase. Then no, don't let me do it here. Let me remove this. So then I'm printing it. I am printing Gideon dot lower. I am printing Gideon dot lower. Then after that, I'm also printing my name again after Gideon dot lower. But now in line 48 here, I'm declaring my name. I'm overriding what we had already. Till this point, my name is going to be referencing this particular value, Gideon with the first letter as uppercase. And once it gets to this point, Python is now going to reassign Gideon.lower to my name. And from this line henceforth, my name will always reference Gideon with with G as in lowercase. So if I should run this now, how many things are we expected to be printed out if I run this? How many output are we expecting? Just let me know you understand this code.
Is that 3?
Anybody else? How many output are we expecting?
The first one, Gideon, my name lower number 1, then print my name. My name Gideon lower, print my name.
We are expecting 3 because we have 3
That's
print
right.
statements here, right? Yeah. So if I should do this now, you see, the first one is coming, the G is coming in lowercase. Why? Because
Because
we
of lower.
applied my name dot lower. We applied we apply the lower method to my name. And then after that, that's why we have this Gideon G in lowercase. Then now after that, we print my name again, just my name. Now we are not applying any method to it. And you see that my name still remains G with uppercase, which was the initial definition that we've given here. So then after that, now we declare my name again as Gideon.lower. In this case, we are saying Gideon.lower, that is Gideon after the lowercase has been converted. After it has been converted to lowercase all through, store it now as my underscore name. So after that, when we print out my name is now coming out as a lowercase. Do you see did you see how it works like that?
That's right.
So that is how that's basically how Python, how variables work in Python. So if you need to declare a value, you feel like you are going to need a value later on in your code, you're going to need a value multiple times in your code. So it's best that you just, declare a variable and store it in a variable. So if I want to, that about that. Another way where variable is, is very useful is when you, let's say we also want to print something, and we have, you can even do like this. You can say my name, my underscore name, Or let's do it, let's say my name is, I can use the concatenate operator here and say my underscore name. Just by what do you expect this to be? What do you expect this to be? You know, or what operation am I performing like this? What operation, just this one here, what operation am I performing? Why are we not looking? Okay, well, to save our time, what I'm doing here is string concatenation because I'm using the plus operator. Remember, my name is pointing to a string value.
Okay.
So that is why I can do this. And if I do this now, you just see my name is Gideon. So disregard everybody, but then you see the last this thing here is my name is Gideon. Why? Because my name, I said this is just a label that is storing or referencing a particular value. The value that it is storing is Gideon dot lower. Now, when this Gideon dot lower get executed, it's going to give us Gideon, right? It's going to give us Gideon. So now, from this point, my name is referencing Gideon, or what's my name? We are storing Gideon into my name, and of course, when you are using it in place, when you are using my underscore name in place of the actual Gideon, it is the value that Python would, it is the value that Python is going to take from it. It's not going to print out the variable name itself. When you are using a variable, Python would know, what's it called? It is the value that Python sees in that variable, not the variable name itself. Does that make sense? So any position that you can use your value, you can as well use your variable there. I can even do this. I can say, let me call this prep-o. I just want to call it prep. Prep equals to my name is, and I already have my underscore name as Gideon, right? So I can do print prep plus my name. Let me comment every other thing. Print prep plus my name. If I should run this, you see, we have my name is Gideon. So when you have a variable like that, you still continue to use them as the way you would use the literal value, like the actual integer value or the actual string value. And I think before now, I've only been using this thing. Let me even use the age. Like I said, you can declare any data type. You can save any data type into a label, into a variable. So now I'm saving 30 into my age. And is this going to, let me do that. Let me do this. Is this going to work? Is this going to work? Is this possible? Is this possible? Prep is a string. My name is a string. And I'm doing concatenation with, two strings value. Then I'm also adding another integer to it. Is that going to work?
I think it's going to work.
Why? Can you do concatenation with a string and a number and an integer?
I don't think so.
It's not possible. The rule
There
still
was
stands.
I didn't see the last age 1. I didn't see that one.
This? I'm storing 30 in my underscore age1. Then now I've added it to it. I'm also doing another concatenation with it. So don't just see them as, when you are interpreting the code, don't, if you're going to interpret this code, look into the value, not like just the variable name. This look good. There's no underline or anything. Python is not able to even detect that you've made a mistake.
Uh-huh.
But you based on the fundamental rules that I've said that when you want to do concatenation, it should be among strings. You cannot
Uh-huh.
concatenate a numerical integer, I mean a numerical data type with a string data type. So
Mm.
that rule still stands. Even when I'm trying to when I already save an integer value into a variable. So if I should do this, there's going to be an error.
Mm.
You see, the error is saying can only concatenate string, not integer.
Mm.
So that's like a pointer to the mistake that we've made. And from there, if for
Yeah.
someone that attended, the first two classes, you'll know that, the rule that was said, the rule is that you cannot concatenate a different data type from string. So okay, this is where my error is. It is
Mm.
because my age is coming
Integer.
as an integer. And how can you
Mm.
avoid that? We need to include the age by all means. So how can we,
Mm.
do that? And I don't want to, come back and put this in quotes. No. So what do you think I'm going to do?
STR.
Exactly.
Huh.
That's where you remember I was told there's a function str that converts a numerical data type to string data type.
Mm.
Now, and how do I apply it? Just the way you use your function. So I have to put this my underscore age1 now into the
Mm-hmm.
string function.
Mm.
So you see, so string underscore my age1 now. I've put my age1, the variable. I've put it inside the string function. And now the string function is going to convert it to string. And if I run this, we should have my name is Gideon 30. I mean, Gideon 30. Do you
Mm.
see that?
Yeah.
Are you getting how like programmers think like that? Like you're getting the flows now, right? Or is anybody
Yeah.
confused or anybody?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's like being able to identify a string and an integer. Like what you said, don't just look at the my age one. Look at the 30. Is it an integer or is it it helps a lot because I was looking at my age, but when you clarify that, it helps
Exactly.
too.
So the variable is just a label. And I said you have the freedom to name it anything.
That's
This
right.
is my age one. I can call it my hold underscore age, my hold age.
Mm-hmm.
If I should run this, is it going to run
I don't I don't think so because you put my old age there and that one is my age one.
my age one? So there's no longer anything like my age one.
That's right.
So now it should be my hold age.
Mm-hmm.
I should replace this with my hold age.
Mm-hmm.
No, it shouldn't be equal to 30. I already declared it. So if I do this now and I run, we have my name is Gideon 30.
That's right.
And if I change this to quotes, if I make this quote and you see, I'm making this as an int as a string now, then
It's a
there won't
string.
be any need for me to convert it again.
Mm.
And if I run this, you'll still have the same thing, no error.
Okay.
Do
Mm.
you have that?
Right.
And case matters. Please, case matters. My name, Gideon, let me remove this. My name equals to Gideon is not the
Mm-hmm.
same thing as uh sorry. Or let me just say this. So this is when we say Python is case sensitive, this is actually like what we mean that
Mm.
these are two different variables, though they are
Mm.
pointing to the same value.
Mm-hmm.
But if I how can I do this now? If I print my name, or let me just do it. Let me first explain this. My underscore name equals to Gideon and my underscore name equals to Gideon. These are two different things. Because the name here, the hen here is, when you're declaring your variable, it is very case sensitive.
Mm.
So if you have one in uppercase and another as lowercase, they are two different variables. Do you get that? So if you declare a
Right.
name as, if you declare my underscore name and you have it as, it is in lowercase, right? And you want to print my name, there's going to be an error. There's going to be an error. Let me run this. You see, there's an error there because it is very case sensitive. So it has to be exactly how
Mm.
you've declared, how you've defined that variable.
Mm.
Do you get that point, please?
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, advantage of using a variable is it helps your program to be more readable. Like imagine instead of having to, if I need to use Gideon now, instead of having to, write it again, put it in codes and all, it will be very, very stressful. But I've only declared it once and I can print it as many times as I want without having to bother about whether it has a quote or it doesn't have a quote or anything.
Mm.
And let me just trying to want to prove a point. The time is the time is up, but this is going to be the last example. So we have my name underscore Gideon. Now I'm able to like print it as many times as I want.
Mm-hmm.
What's the mistake I made? Uh, can someone point out the error? Okay. Because I'm inside a prompt. I'm inside Python prompt.
Oh.
Yeah. So I have to exit that prompt before my code can run. So if I should play now, you see we have Gideon coming out in multiple places. So let's say I now want to, let's say initially what I had was Gideon. Let's say what I had was Gideon. And when someone corrected me, it should be Gideon, it should be he. I don't have to start changing the Gideon in every places I've printed Gideon.
Mm-hmm.
I just have to make that change in one location and it's going to affect every other place I've used it. So now if I do this, if I change the he to Gideon and I save it and I run it now, Gideon is
It changes
it has been corrected in
automatic.
every places I've used it. So that's one of the
Mm.
advantages of, having a variable. If you think you're going to use it later on in your code, it's best to just declare a variable, store it in that variable and use that variable instead.
Mm. Nice.
So now, and same thing with, addition, like I said, you can store any data type into a variable. So please, you can check the slide. I think it's the same explanation is in slide, like how it goes, and maybe what I didn't include here is the rule. I only have it as a note, but I hope you don't forget the rule. It doesn't start with a number. Special characters like @ or hash is not allowed. Purely letters and numbers. It cannot start with numbers as well. It must start with a letter, but it can contain a number. So, but I would just tell you that the best way to go about declaring your variable name is to, let's say I want to a letter. I want to a letter to my friend now. I can just call it letter underscore to my friend. It's even allowed so far. Ideally you have to make it short, but short in the sense that this is still allowed. Letter underscore to underscore my underscore friend is still allowed, still short. But you can have something like letter to my friend so that he can gift me equals to I comma Frank would you gift me an Apple Watch? This is going to work. Of course, if I want to print letter to my, it's going to work, but this doesn't follow the best practice. The variable name is too long. It's too long. So why we said it should be descriptive, but at the same time short. So the best way, you can think of any way to, do it, but the best one I think is okay. And if anybody else should see this code, they will understand what I mean is letter to my friend. It's still short in a way. Or I can even, if I don't want to use letter to my friend, I can say my underscore friend underscore MSG, my friend message. It is descriptive and short.
That's right.
So that's just like the best practices to go by naming your variable. And I think we're going to stop from here. So now what I want to do is I'll add to the assignment. I'll add to the assignment. The first one is that you're going to practice the different string methods, see how they work. And I also include another one that will test your understanding of a variable. So everything is
Okay.
going to be inside a Python script. Don't worry, I will make sure the assignment, the task is descriptive, like you understand what I mean by what I'm asking you. So I'll upload it to the Google Classroom and you have to submit before Thursday. So you have, oh, today's Tuesday,
That's
Wednesday.
right.
Okay, let me give you the grace till Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah,
Today
so
is technically Wednesday.
okay, yeah,
That's
today
right.
is it's
How do
Wednesday
you,
already.
Professor, how do you highlight everything in green? Because sometimes I try to, as you are typing, I try to type sometimes, but I couldn't catch up because you kind of like highlight everything and put it in green with the hashtag.
Oh, okay.
How
This has nothing to do with Python and anything. It has to do with Visual Studio Code.
yeah, like
So,
I'm talking about when you're practicing, let's say you're training on you're practicing on your own. Instead of
okay.
deleting everything, you want to just like highlight and
Oh, yeah. I think in the first class I told you about comments. I'm actually commenting them. So, but there's a
okay,
shortcut I use. There's a shortcut on your keyboard that once
okay,
you highlight and let's say I want to do, let me just teach it to us. I want to,
okay,
if you want to do it manually, what you have to do is move your cursor to the beginning of the code and put an
okay,
hash sign there
yeah,
or put the pound sign there. But this is going
yeah. I
imagine
did,
if I want to comment
yeah,
every line of code, I'll have to be doing
yeah.
that. I'll have to be
That
doing
takes,
that.
yeah, that
It
takes forever.
yeah, it takes a while. So what I just do is I will highlight everything, all the lines I want to comment. Let's say I want to highlight
Ah,
just this.
yeah,
After I've highlighted it using my mouse, you know how to highlight, right?
yeah.
Yeah, then you press Control// on your keyboard.
Control 4
Control// Control and
or
the / button.
oh, okay, okay. I got it. Thank you.
It worked,
Because
right?
yeah, I did. Thank you.
Okay.
Because sometimes you want to kind of like highlight everything and but I didn't know. I was like, I just watch you do it, so I was just trying to follow and catch up with what you're doing.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
good. It's
thank,
just like a trick. I think it works
thank.
on any code editor you want to use. Once you highlight
Oh,
Control / and it's going to automatically comment.
yeah, that helps a lot. Thank you very much.
Yeah. You started working with SQL, right?
Yes,
SQL.
yes.
Yeah, you can try it with SQL. It also works.
Okay,
There's a way you comment in SQL. So once you highlight and you do that Control / it's going to comment your code.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, right. So we'll continue from here and in the next class. So next class we'll okay, these are just some more explanations. Like, yeah, so next class we'll be talking about a specific Python method, which is called the format. And maybe even from your assignments, maybe you will do some practice about it, but we'll still talk more about it in the next class. And from there, we'll talk about another method called join. But from the assignment I'll be giving you, I may ask you, you may have to try and practice and see if you can get it on your own. But we'll still do
Okay.
with it, we deal with them in our classes. And then there's another thing, another concept called slicing,
Mm.
in Python. So we'll do that on Thursday, and I hope we can finish this slide on Thursday. Yeah, we should be able to finish this slide on Thursday. So at the end of the day, the assignment I'll be giving you will encompass everything we've done from the beginning till that Thursday. So
Okay.
the assignment I'll be giving you also after this class is part of it. So everything will be combined. And on Thursday, I'll give you another assignment. And so you submit everything and everything. I mean, that way to ensure that it will force you to even understand everything we've done so far. So
That's
don't
right.
worry if you're still having some little doubt. The assignment will help you when you have to work on them. They will help you to get some hands-on better. So, sorry for taking, I think I exceeded the time with 10 minutes. So that will be the end. And I really thank I thank you for your contributions. So any question before we call it a day?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you a question. Have you stopped recording?